Of course, I just would like to first to introduce the Development Bank of Oman. It's nearly 47 years old bank. We're running only limited to the SME financing back in days, but in 2023, the entire model of the bank has been revamped. It was no more looking at being a typical SME bank. It's now considered to be a core development bank. That's why to fulfill that mandate, the capital of the bank was increased from $260 million to $1.3 billion to make sure they'll be able to cater the required need of the development for the time being within the Sultanate, within the country, and with a hope that we'll be able to expand our operations and our reach to the regional countries within the region. Well, I think blended finance was always it's proved to be successful, at least in the part of our world. The countries like ours, the most of the important investments are actually, or initiatives start from the government, and that's where the most of the core initiative, including the green financing and ESG initiatives, was started by the government. Being the Development Bank of Oman is the arm of the government, 100% owned by the Ministry of Finance. So obviously, most of the projects were coming in from the Development Bank. Our role was to put up the seed, start the investment, give the comfort to the investors, structure the facilities, structure the funding requirement according to the return on investment, knowing especially most of the ESG projects and the green finance project does not fall under the traditional way of traditional financing model. Return on equity, the duration of the loan, the subsidy rates are definitely different considered than the ones which we have seen for any traditional development banks. Coming into the Islamic finance, of course, Islamic finance is has a very rapid growth in Oman, specifically in 2024 itself. The growth was 12% compared to 2023, and Islamic finance have embedded the ESG as part of their DNA within the organization, and looking at the well-diversified product range is available for funding. I think they have been successful to embed the Islamic products, especially the equity instruments like Sukuk, into lucrative tool for attracting funding and investment for different sort of initiatives within the Sultanate. I would say in an environment like us, the countries like us, the key initiatives, key start always gets from the government. And we have seen the government has been very much supportive, especially when the announcement was for the net zero emission by 2050. The expected capital, expected investment for achieving this net zero initiative would be minimum of $260 billion over the next few years. So the government have completely committed to put up their 20 to 30% as an equity coming in, and to allow for the investors to come in and participate in such projects. There are much more information and projects are available in the Sultanate as a key initiatives, but during the session, I'll be able to share that. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So I take it that that you think, and you have certainly given those examples as well, that public finance and concessional finance, commercial development banks, they can play a role and push the companies and investors to embed sustainability. And I see your response to it as well, that yes, Islamic instruments do have a role to play, and we can certainly achieve that objective. Thank you for that. Dr. Conrad, did I pronounce it right?
Yes.
You know what? I made a mistake. There was a typo in my response to him, and I wrote it as if I was saying Dr. Con.
No,
did I say Conrad at the time?
It has a bad meaning.
Sorry about that. Okay. So the question to you, how can intergovernmental platforms create long-lasting cultural shifts in food policy that embed both sustainability and social justice?
Yes, thank you very much, and good morning, everyone, and really an honor to be here, and thank you for the invitation by the ISDB. Before I answer the question, allow me 2 minutes to introduce the Global Flagship Initiative for Food Security that I'm heading. In my previous role, almost 2 years, I worked for the Innovation Commission for Climate Change, Food Security and Agriculture, chaired by Nobel Prize winner Professor Michael Kramer at the University of Chicago. The main purpose of this Innovation Commission was to identify and promote this scaling of innovations that are cost-effective, evidence-based, science-based, and scalable, and that can ideally help millions of people getting out of hunger. Now, the flagship initiative is one of the 2 outcomes of this 2-year Innovation Commission. The Secretariat is based at the COP Trust, an international organization in Bonn, Germany, and it is backed by the Arab Coordination Group with members. It started with ACFund and Badea, but also ISDB and OPEC Fund have joined this 5-year global flagship initiative. So the overall objective remains the same: to identify and promote the scaling of cost-effective science-based innovations that can ideally help millions of people getting out of hunger. And then we have 3 pillars under this initiative. The first one is we are depoliticizing SDG 2, which means we are working with anybody who is dedicated to SDG 2, to food security. And it's the only initiative, and I worked 9 years in the European Commission and was also the chair of the Global Donor Platform, so I have also quite some experience in food security. The only initiative, and it started with the Arab Coordination Group, and should be very proud of this, where you have the 6 GCC countries, where you have China, India, 8 governments from Central America, several African governments backing this up or have actually joined the flagship, but then also endorsement by European Commission, by the G20 presidency, South Africa this year. So this is a core pillar that we are working with anybody. The second core pillar is bringing in the private sector. At the moment, we have 2 big multinationals that are members of the flagship. That's Bayer, a German company, and PepsiCo from the United States. There are a lot of discussions with several multinationals, including Nestle and others, but also I think we need to work a bit on the small and medium-sized front. And the third pillar is it's not just blah blah. We envisage a quick turnaround on funding. So when we launched this initiative, and Dr. Isa was there with us on December 5th in Riyadh at the UNCCD COP16 Agri-Food Systems Day, we not only launched this initiative, we already announced the funding for the first 2 projects, which are training for rainwater harvesting in Niger and digital agriculture weather forecasting for up to 7 million people in Ethiopia, which both projects being funded by ACFund and Badea, 2 members of the Arab Coordination Group. Now, to answer your questions, intergovernmental organizations, it is a global initiative. So I mentioned China, India, 8 governments from Central America that, by the way, all come with 50% co-funding. But also my understanding is that the Arab Coordination Group wants a predominant focus on Africa, in particular the Sahel. And I couldn't agree more with this. So in the last months or so, we had a number of meetings with the leadership of IGAD, one of the regional economic communities of Africa, and actually chairing the 8 regional economic communities this year. So the idea is now to enter into a partnership with IGAD. As a matter of fact, they are joining the flagship now. They will establish an office at their headquarters in Djibouti, and then, have a particular focus, initial focus, because we cannot be active everywhere on that region. And why is this relevant? Because obviously we need, people that have, the boots on the ground, that have, this expertise. And top-down approaches, they don't work anymore. So we need to be absolutely inclusive, and this is also where I see or hope that Islamic Development Bank will be a very active member in this initiative and help us with that. And through this engagement, this is the last thing I want to say, is with IGAD and then also at African Union level, I hope that, and G20 presidency was with us last week in Bonn, Germany. We had the first stakeholder meeting and adopted a 5-year strategy. that we will also showcase this flagship at the G20 summit in November in Johannesburg. And then there are also a number of other exciting engagements, but I stop here.
Thank you, Dr. Conrad. So I take it that it is really the bottom-up approach which will really result into achieving the objective as a bottom-line message from you, if I take it right. Thank you for that. I now move to Dr. Isa. Dr. Isa, a question to you. Can you please share your insight on how Islamic Development Bank catalyzes the cross-sectoral partnerships to promote ethical investment and sustainable development in its member countries? Thank you.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Thank you very much. Good morning. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. I'm really pleased to be here, and thank you to my colleagues, Mohammed, for inviting me to this session to talk about these very important points that are very dear to my heart, is sustainability, impact. It is basically where we are, our raison d'etre is to really make sure that we can deliver impact and sustainability in our member countries. Now, at the Islamic Development Bank, we have a very unique vantage point on this one. As you know, Adnan, we are an institution based on Islamic principles. And when you say that, it brings some core values that we share with ethical investment and sustainability. It is really part of our DNA. So as a bank, as a multilateral development bank, we have a unique position to implement ethical investment and sustainable development. And this comes through our modes of operations, right? We are asset-backed transactions. We are pushing for risk sharing, solidarity, economic and social justice consideration are part of what we do. That is part of our mandate, and then this is who we are, and this is what we deliver day in and day out. So we believe that ethics and sustainability are two sides of the same coin. And it needs to be embedded in everything that we do, from financing, non-financing, and so on. So for us, it is really an existential question. It is something that we live every day. And we're kind of trying to build a culture where Islamic values and ESG principles are mutually reinforcing, because that's exactly what we do every day. Now, when you come to the partnership angle, sustainability is a multifaceted and multidimensional thing. You can take it from different angles, from the macro side to the meso or the micro level, sectors, thematic. So it comes in different various shape or forms. So for us, it is just a philosophy that we cannot solve sustainability issues by working in silos. And then now, even the new landscape, the development landscape is such that we cannot solve issues by working piecemeal. So we need integrated ways of working together, and we need collaboration. So collaboration is critical, is key when we were talking about sustainability and ethics. And this comes at different levels. For example, when we work with countries, we need to make sure that we bring together public sector, private sector, civil society, partners, to co-create solutions that are resilient and sustainable. That's how that resilience will be built in, because you bring the different actors, you bring the different expertise to make sure that you can have a solution that will respond in a more integrated and sustainable manner. And we've done that in Pakistan. You know about that project that we done, the government of Pakistan, following the flood. We had a flood reconstruction program, and we have been able to mobilize with donors 150 million, and then bringing together different actors that help us not only build homes, 20,000 homes, but also homes that are climate resilient, inclusive, and then promoting women into accessing those households. So I think that this exemplifies how cross-sectoral partnership is important in building resilience. Now, in terms of how do we use Islamic finance instrument, let's just go to the capital market now, from the flood and the reconstruction to capital market. Based on our Islamic principle, we have been able to bring to the market a first ever AAA green sukuk a couple of years back that has been very successful and helped us raise $1 billion that helps finance clean transportation, renewable energy, and sustainable land management. So we are trying to bring the Islamic values and principles into the capital market and then increase the intermediation capacity to make sure that ethical capital is moved into sustainability angle. That's what the sukuk does, basically. You take the ethical capital and you make sure that it goes where it's needed, which is sustainability. So that's what we have been doing in the capital market, but it's not only financial. I don't want to leave this room when people think about finance and ethical investment and sustainability. You need to have the financial, but you need the non-financial as well. The non-financial is all the analytical work and all the thought leadership around. This is what Conrad comes into play and others. These need to be going in tandem. It's not only the check that you're writing, but also the thought leadership aspect of sustainability, sorry. And this is something that we are working on with our reverse linkage mechanism, where we try to bring countries to learn from each other and to share experiences and expertise into this area. And then we have the case with Senegal and Malaysia, where climate-smart agriculture was the focus. We have been able to help Senegalese learn from Malaysia, and then on water and energy food nexus as well. So this is also another way of sustainability where you create trust. You create the ownership. You create mutual respect between different stakeholders, and that has also a meaningful impact. I'll leave it to that. That these are just ways that we can see how collaboration and partnership can help deliver sustainability.
Thank you, Dr. Issa. It's interesting when you say, I mean, you highlighted actually perhaps the core of the problem you touched in terms of when you highlighted the fact sustainability cannot be in silos. In fact, as you know, that I work and engage extensively with the private sector, and I end up saying this exactly as well. The way I have understood it is the following, that sustainability, if you want to be profitable, you have to be sustainable. That's the best way to define what sustainability is. That translates into that. Otherwise, we cannot have the profitability longer term. So I guess that is where it goes. Now, it's always a music to the ears when you talk about those all pieces, you know, this collaboration, various partnerships of different sort. And you also know that something we have been trying to put together, we have put together the Global Islamic Finance Program, is actually a reflection of a similar approach. So I'm glad that you are validating that in a way. Dr. Yami. Well, as I said, you are behind this. You are the force behind this show today. But I have a question for you as well. And the question is, there exists a notion that a private sector is mainly driven by financial interest with limited regard for sustainability. Now, what has ICD's experience been, and how is it reshaping this perception, both internally and, of course, with your stakeholders and the clients? If you could please shed light on that.
Thank you very much, Adnan. Since Isa and myself are presenting the same group, I think it's very challenging to speak after him. So he set the stage high, but I'll try. I heard sustainability and ethics, and I heard sustainability and profitability. And I think I will add sustainability and resilience. And I was really thinking about sustainability and resilience in a way of which one comes first. Do we need to be resilient to be sustainable, or do we need to be sustainable to be resilient? And I don't have an answer, but it's just, something I was thinking about. Of course, the ICD is not about, pure financing. So it's really equally important, the financial, non-financials, or even the non-financials is more important. If we look to the ICD from internal procedures, we have two stages of approval for the credit journey for the investments. And it starts always with what is the theory of change of that particular investment. And allow me to be technical. I know just to explain ICD. So if we have a robust theory of change that will lead to a developmental impact, because the three main KPIs of ICD, which we are really accountable in front of the board and stakeholders, are job creation, SMEs financing, and access to Islamic finance. So these are the three things behind, I would say, every single investment ICD approving, but also there are many other KPIs. So we have the theory of change. We need to demonstrate the development impact expected from interventions. Then we go to the due diligence, where we need to collect a baseline data for our interventions that can be, the impact can be measured against when we have the completion. We have the evaluation missions to the clients. We have the end result, intervention evaluation. We have the annual development effectiveness report. This year, I think it's the 11th edition of ICD. And we also have the 10 years targets, which will finish in 2029. Our target is 500,000 jobs, 30,000 SMEs, and 1 million individuals have access to Islamic finance. Of course, our President, His Excellency Mohammed Al-Jasir, yesterday announced that we will announce the 10 years strategic framework these days, and that might even, have some impact on our strategic framework as well. So we will update it. Critical issue for sustainability is the culture. We think, and let me be only for ICD, and I think that apply. We think we have the sustainability and development culture and mindset inside out or through all the levels, which might be not the case. So unless we have the internal, centric culture of sustainability and development, we cannot support enriching the culture of our clients and awareness and understanding of sustainability. And I think that's where we are heading as ICD. We took the commitment to go this way with our clients, either partner level or even to the SMEs level, where we question them, send them reports about their performance, and trying to have even a platform where can they access and see their, development impact achievements. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and it's glad to hear all what you have just, it's in a short time period, you can't really talk about all those initiatives which you are currently working on, but good to know as institution, as the group, and yourselves as ICD, you're all, you have taken that as an objective to achieve, and we appreciate it highly. Now, ladies and gentlemen, one thing which we did was that since there is always, you don't always get the ideals delivered, so we thought of having this session, and we ideally wanted gender mix here too. Since we couldn't achieve that for genuine reasons, we thought of encouraging female participation in particular when it comes to the question and answer session. So I request and encourage the female, the ladies sitting here, when it comes to the questions, please could you be prepared and participate, so we are also equally, we have that gender mix and participation as well. Okay, so I now, thank you, of course, for your insightful remarks for so far. So I'll move on to the second round of questions now, before I turn to our audience here. Now, if I may request to keep these set of answers around 3 minutes in terms of your response, so we can manage the time and have our other participation from the other end as well. My question back to you, Mr. Hussain Al-Lawati. How can national development banks lead the way in embedding sustainability and ethical governance within SME financing models? And I was particularly keen on asking this question to you, given your expertise, especially in SME sector.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. So I think ESG and the sustainability is no more a matrix. It's now, it's a kind of a transformation. It's a kind of a DNA. It needs to be in every organization. From that aspect, before we impose, or I'm trying to be very selective in my word. I think sometimes having the bargaining power with the SMEs, especially when you're a lender, you need to impose some of the guidelines for them to adhere to. So before we do ESG as a part of their mandate to be incentivized and getting access to finance, especially for a development bank, we set up our own infrastructure. We didn't have the proper ESG built in the bank. We had the right, we built our framework, we hired the right resources, we put it part of our priorities as a part of our DNA projects of the bank, and then we successfully launched our ESG department and the framework, from where then we started having that model within the bank of the higher adherence to the ESG and the sustainability framework from the SMEs, the higher is the, I would say, the subsidy, the higher is the funding amount. We wanted to make sure that sustainability in the ESG is not limited only in the paper just for just availing the finance. We wanted to also make sure it's properly tracked. So we built a proper framework and a platform for most of our SMEs. And those SMEs who have availed the funding from the bank have, if managed to provide I would say, a certification, certified ESG progress, those will continue to have access to finance, incremental subsidies, and maybe we'll be able to also make them part of some of the key projects which we have been participating. An example, we have very large projects is coming with BP, who invested over $1 billion in one of the green hydrogen projects. From that, there is a lot of opportunities are coming for the SMEs. So it was very lucrative for SMEs, but we made it as a mandate. SMEs who are within the ESG approved framework, those are the only SMEs would be getting some sort of an offtake, and the entire supply chain and the funding would be funded from the development bank, keeping the credit aspect into mind, of course, with our framework. So I would say that it's no more a luxury, it's no more a transaction, it's a part of a DNA which we first built and we are trying to enhance within the bank, and eventually we need to make sure the SMEs within the country to have that sort of culture and mindset.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hassan Al-Lawati. In fact, what you were saying almost echoed to me in my head. It's also why you actually refer to both in a way, which is what certainly is needed. It's not just greening the finance; it is financing the green. Is what is important here. And while with the focus and the type of strategies you have just been referring to, it reflects to me that recognition is there, and you are being more hands-on in the approach and looking into making sure that what is actually financed in the first place was structured and built in the DNA to be the green in the first place, for that matter. But thank you for those comments. Appreciate it. Right, so second question to you, Dr. Conrad. With food security being a foundational challenge in many Islamic Development Bank member countries, as you know, particularly among the LDCs, can recent technologies like the AI and these help address these issues? And can investors play a role in channeling funds into such solutions? Any thoughts on that?
Yes. Is it working?
Try and give.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. And what Dr. Isa said is absolutely also music in my ears, because I couldn't agree more. It's not only when we speak about private sector engagement that, we are looking for money. If you look at Nestle and these kind of companies, they are spending billions a year on research. So it's also, they are contributing with their research, with their expertise, with their well, not only expertise in terms of research, but also expertise in terms of, working with smallholder farmers and others. So I do think there is a role for AI, and I want to make a little excursion to a workshop I was invited to in the Vatican a couple of weeks ago and funded by the US government on AI ethics. So basically what the previous Pope did, Pope Francis, was he promoted a Rome call for AI ethics. And this was an initiative which he brought together.
What did you call? What's the name? AI?
AI ethics. And this call was signed by the leaders of all world religions, by, I think, 120 world leaders and several CEOs of IBM, Microsoft, Cisco. They all met in Hiroshima in Japan to sign up in 2021 for this Rome call for AI ethics. Very inspirational for me, and I will say why. It's not a Catholic thing. They just were pushing for this. You don't have to subscribe to all the bullets, but identify yourself basically with the main objective to have some standard guidelines, but you don't have to agree with all of them. And I think this is very inspirational for me for the flagship, because it's also something that we are trying to do, to work with basically bringing together the world on SDG2, on food security, at a time that could not be more critical and more I mean, the world, the realities we are operating in, they are completely changing. And I think we should not forget there are a lot of people in this world, millions, that need our help. Hunger's on the rise. We need to do things a little bit differently. And I think one of the core elements is really bringing the world together. And again, based on my previous experience in the European Commission and chairing the Global Donor Platform at the UN, it has not happened so far. We are working too much in silos, and that's where I strongly believe this flagship now that we launched with, it started with University of Chicago and the Arab Coordination Group, but now it's really a global movement. We met the Vice President of the European Investment Bank in Washington at the spring meetings a couple of weeks ago, and he said, are we missing out something by not joining this initiative, because this is filling a gap, in a changing world. So I believe the private sector is a core element, but not only financially, also with their expertise, etc.
Great hearing that, actually. And, in fact, this gives a lot of hope. Hearing all this from your insightful understanding and experience, it certainly gives us a lot of hope. Dr. Issa, to you again, please. So the question is, how can multilateral institutions better align themselves with ESG frameworks, especially as expectations around transparency and accountability continue to grow?
No, thank you, Dr. Adan. I think this is a very, very crucial question, is how multilateral development bank align with its ESGs. I think that we don't have a choice. We, in this current environment, with all those challenges we are facing, we need, one way or the other, we need to try to see how we can really face this challenge around ESG. But we need to do it in a very transparent manner, and a very responsible one also, because we may fall, if we don't do that, we may fall into this sustainability washing, greenwashing, that everything that we can take is green, because sustainability is everywhere. I mean, you can come into and package it the way you want, but that's not going to save the day. We need to make sure that we move from policies to action and implementation. I think that's where the rubber hit the road. How are we going to make sure that our policies and strategies around sustainability are implemented on the ground is where the challenge is. Even in our institution, when I'm sure you, ICD, you will have this debate between the strategy and the policies and the investment teams. How are they going to be able to implement the ESG principles are very critical. And I do believe that we need to make sure that ESG and sustainability is not an add-on. It is part and parcel of the objective of the institution. They should be backed by leadership. I think that the ownership of the leadership is very important. It should be there. I mean, the CEOs or the top management should be there to influence that idea of sustainability should be at every single level in the institution. Second, in terms of organization, it needs to be also seen that there is a dedicated team trying to coordinate this whole effort around sustainability and resilience across the institution. This need that you need to have processes in place, standardization of some of these processes. And in the bank, we have several tools. For example, we have the sustainable framework that has helped us issue green sukuk and sustainability sukuk. We have an ENS policy. We have other mechanisms that we deliver ENS. But once you have the system in place, the processes, it needs to be integrated in your decision-making process. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. So it needs to be there and then have a tease. Your ENS or your sustainability principle should be integrated in your decision-making. And it needs to be in a way that you can incentivize accountability, and it comes to the transparency issues and the reporting and so on. So we need to make sure that we have also a mechanism in place to report back to our shareholders and to our constituencies on what we deliver. So there is a lot of issues that you need to make it a reality. Policies, but policies with implementation and action. And it needs to be reflected into your organization and the way the organization makes decisions in terms of investment, for example.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Issa. I need to go to the last question of this session, which is, of course, Dr. Yami, to you. But I also wanted to request one approval, one exception, or out of the script request to you before I ask you the question. An incentive for our audience, female participation. So any female participant who asks the question and engages us would hopefully can get a photo op opportunity, so at least we have them as part of the panel here. Is that okay? Great, thank you, granted. So we have an incentive here. Okay, right. So the last question to you, looking ahead, Dr. Yami, what are the next milestones or strategic goals for ICD in enabling ESG deeper into these operations and building a stronger culture of sustainability and ethics? And if we can keep short so we can open it for others. Thank you.
Well, so I think the direction is sustainability. We cannot, avoid being a catalyst in this regard for our partners. We have a great example of HIPSO, and I just mentioned this, I think, in the earlier discussion. So HIPSO is the harmonized indicator for private sector operation network. We are talking about 26, 27 DFIs. And we reach a great achievement by unite and standardize our way of measuring impact. And I think what we need to do now is to talk more about how can we have the sustainability as the DNA. I think Hussein mentioned DNA, and for the sake of argument, I think we need to do a DNA test for some DFIs to make sure that they really have it. It's not, just, greening finance, but, financing green. So we are working to that direction. I think the term itself, sustainability, is not clear yet, even at the DFI level. ICD, we just started our sustainability journey last year. And just to give you the level of, or the magnitude of the work, we are talking about 5 pillars, 3 phases, and 15 initiatives. We just started the first one, which is the double materiality assessment, and that might take 4 to 5 months, one initiative. And the sequence matters in this case, so we cannot do it all together. Our plan, our expectation that this sustainability journey might take between 4 and 5 years for ICD to reach the level where we can say, you know what, ICD is DFIs that have, a sustainability culture, procedure, policies, instrument in place. So it's really a big mandate. What we are doing so far have been done internally, and that, increase the capacity. We have a dedicated team now, and actually function ICD called Sustainability Impact under the Development Effectiveness Office. So this is where we are seeing ICD should focus in terms of, conceptually, not, in terms of business, But we need to couple the instrument, the financing, the procedure that we have with the culture, with the sustainability. It's even higher than or wider than the ESG itself. I think ESG is one pillar of this sustainability spectrum.
Thank you, Dr. Yami. Appreciate it. So what I take from here is that mindset change is what is really needed. That's what we are working on. Now, open to the floor. Apologies, we took a little longer than what we planned, but questions from the audience? Anyone? So I didn't mean that gents can't ask. Please do. Yes. So can we have a mic there, please? We need a mic. Oh, we have one lady there. So for first here. No, you raise your hand first. Okay, fine. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. My name is Zahra Mrabat. I'm a member of FCIC, the Federation of Consultants of Islamic
Can you
Countries.
be a bit closer to the mic?
Yes, my name is Zahra Mrabat, and I am member of the Federation of Consultants of Islamic Countries. My question is, in terms of sustainability, we have environment, social, economic impact for as a sustainability element important. And the bank is actually mainly financing infrastructure, and they often the turnkey to the infrastructure is the end of the project. So is the bank now including systematically this element of economic, social, and environmental impact assessment, and also follow-up?
Thank you for that. Just before we ask for the responses, we'll take the other question as well, and then we'll answer these two questions before we close the session.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adam. And also, thank you very much for the panelists talking about this building sustainability culture, because now you are talking more and more sustainability, and I really appreciate combining sustainability and the resilience. I think that is very, very important. My question goes to Dr. Issa. I'm asking, what's the role does innovation play in driving sustainability? And how can organizations foster this culture of innovation? Thank you so much.
Thank you. So we have two questions. Who would like to take the first question, answer to maybe Dr. Issa, you can respond to both, or you as well, maybe the first question especially.
I'll try, and then my colleagues will help me
Sure.
respond. But this is an excellent question. The last question is really excellent. I don't know if I can respond to it, but I do believe that innovation should be core in what we do, regardless of sustainability and others. Because we are in a world where, as I said earlier, our challenges are intricate. It's very challenging to kind of partially look at issues that we face. So we need to be creative in the way that we solve the problems that we have at hand. And sustainability is one where we are trying day in and day out. I mean, some example is on agriculture. For example, what we are doing in the bank, we are trying to push for climate resilient, climate smart agriculture using technology, AI, and GIS, and all these things. So we are trying to innovate day in and day out to make sure that we can solve the problem that we have. And I believe, I do agree with you that innovation should be core into what we do if we want to solve the issue of development, period. I think your question is excellent, and this is something that we are trying. I mean, all MDBs, I think, are trying really to innovate and bring new ideas on the table. And technology and AI will be more and more seen in what we do. Even internally, even in our own processes, we are trying to bring innovation to make sure that we are efficient and we deliver swiftly for our member countries.
Thank you, Doctor.
And
You want to respond to the first one as well?
Yeah, I think this is I think that we have been doing this quite a bit. Actually, over the last couple of years, we have geared up to strengthen our tools and system in terms of environment, social policies, and going beyond compliance, by the way. We're not just looking at compliance and ticking boxes. We are really trying to do environment assessments. We have a whole team dedicated to that. And all our projects Every single project now goes through an assessment of ENS and climate resilience and economic and social has been there for a while. But we have been really improving and ramping our capabilities to make sure that the sustainability is part and parcel of what
Thank
we
you.
do.
Mr. Al-Bati, you wanted to quickly add last 30 seconds to Elmer?
Heard most of the things, but I would definitely concur with him that the economic and social for development banks is the mandate. That's the reason that most of the development banks have been having the highest amount of MPAs, because they do not look at the things purely by the credit. The economical and the social is the mandate. We have our own tools how to measure those. We are good to go if we have a social and economic impact and we do not have the other returns that actually tick the box for our KPIs. Environmental, I'll be very transparent, at least at our part of the world. Environmental considerations were not that great back in days. We were not looking at it in every single applications when we were doing the funding, but environmental impact, it's coming in, it's becoming, matured slowly. And I would say that is in the next couple of years, it will become a kind of a mandate. All the rating credit scoring systems would be able to have the environmental risk as a part of integrated in the model, and according to that, the risk rating of every application will be according to that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it highly, and would like to extend an applause for our panelists. Thank you very much for being with us. Appreciate, and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adnan Aziz. Let's take a photo, please. A photo for our dear panelists and Dr. Adnan Aziz, Chief Program Officer, Global Islamic Finance Impact Program. Thank you for moderating this panel, and thanks. We would like to express our gratitude to the panelists who have contributed to in the enrichment of the debate. Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup. Shukran. So, Mr. Adnan Aziz, we are waiting you for the press conference now in the hall ceremony to the of the project and financing agreements. Thank you so much, and we come back at 12 in 1 hour, and we will be starting the Halal Economy Leadership Forum. Thank you so much.